leads it by 2, 1:25 to go.
My name is Cupid Valentino.
Oh, it's Valentine's Day, I hear.
I just want to say one thing.
Boston's original 93.7 WEEI, Late Night with KJ. Thank you so much for hanging out. And as a married guy of more than a dozen years, I will still say Happy Valentine's Day to you, even if we're pretty much a station geared towards men 18 to 55. Still, look, this might be your way to remember to tell that significant other next to you, oh, yes, Happy Valentine's Day. Been listening to the station all day. And so I'm happy about last night's Super Bowl because there were thoughts in my head that this is going to be a blowout. The Super Bowl show will outweigh the game, and it was truly, you lower your expectations, you can get great results. And that was last night's game. And on that last drive you just heard, called by Kevin Harlan here on WEEI last night, you heard Cooper Kupp save Matthew Stafford from what was literally going to be a Craig and Friday moment. How you the Rams going to lose the Super Bowl in your own house? It was getting very close to that, and that would have been a very interesting story, especially on Sean McVay losing 16-3 the last time the Rams were in the Super Bowl. So you were literally about to see the home team, which before last year, you'd never get the home game at home for the Super Bowl. Now, like 2 years in a row, L.A. had all that money on the line, and they were on the verge of losing at home. Justin Turpin, thank you so much for being here tonight. How are you?
I'm doing all right, KJ. Got a little bit richer with the Super Bowl last night, so I'm still riding off that high. I'm doing good.
And see, you're smart because the next day you came in to work versus worrying about spending that money on Valentine's Day dinners, right? Like you're like, hey, look, I haven't cashed it in yet, even though you're excited. Like, yeah, I won on this prop. I won on another prop. She's thinking, yes, 2 steaks, surf and turf times 2. Get the additives, a la carte. And you don't have to do that because you're at work tonight. Baby, you got to work tonight. And she'll never be mad.
Amen.
Pass the collection plate on that, and your winnings should go in there because you probably got your thing from one of the Squid Games or Scared Money Don't Make Them last week, didn't you?
I texted you right after. I said Squid Games.
You sure did. I'm such a nice KJ. I don't take your money when you win. Most bookies, they do. But Cooper Kupp last night saved Matthew Stafford. And so there was a rumor going on, of course, right before the game started. Like, look, if Aaron Donald wins this game, he might retire. Listen to the emotions from him after the game last night.
Obviously emotional. What's the immediate feeling you've got right now?
I'm just so happy. I wanted this so bad. I dreamed this, man. I dreamed this, and it's like, it's surreal. Look at this. Look at this, man. I feel amazing. It feel amazing, man. It feel great.
I'm so happy for Aaron Donald. I mean, because you think in college, it's a stud, and then just the Rams were really bad for several years while he was there. He's still making Pro Bowls and getting votes for MVP, even though he doesn't win it, but Defensive Player of the Year a couple of times. And, I mean, my goodness, he's even changed the way the ACC does their imaging for football season. Like, it used to be showing, like, beakers and labs. Now they show Aaron Donald sacking people. Like, come to one of our schools. Aaron Donald went to one. So maybe one more year he makes a run at it. But if he walked right now, this would be the perfect time. I already thought he was a Hall of Fame player. Last night solidified it. Now, I got to give it to the Bengals. Well, I got to give it to the refs, too, with the face mask, turn your head, and touchdown. But Joe Burrow is just a bit disappointed knowing that the game was still in the balance and they couldn't convert. Here he is.
Yeah, when we hit that first play, I thought we were going to go down and at least get a field goal to tie the game and send it into overtime. You got to give credit to them. They played their tails off for those 4 plays and stopped us on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1. So, credit to them.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad that Joe Burrow, and we're not discussing his choice of clothing and stuff like that, all that stuff that makes some players seem cool but others look like dummies. I don't know, maybe it's just the environment we're in. I don't know. But the talk last night and into today, which I wanted to get into, is Matthew Stafford and the Hall of Fame. I was like, are you serious? Now, if he's a Hall of Famer after last night, then my question would be, where does this leave Jim Caldwell in the conversation of the NFL and its storylines, right? So look, if Matthew Stafford had only gone to the playoffs in 2012 and then last night, no one would be having this conversation. If you said this guy's been in the league 13 years, went to the playoffs once 10 years ago, and is a hired gun and suddenly goes to the Super Bowl with everybody around him, that makes a Hall of Famer? No. But what gives people a chance to say that he deserves to go to the Hall of Fame is that he has gone to the playoffs. He did have some winning seasons in Detroit. It just happened that 3 out of 4 of them, out of a total of 5, out of 4, I'm sorry, came with Jim Caldwell. 0 for 3 in terms of winning seasons after Jim Caldwell left. So after Jim Caldwell left, it went back to stinking, and Matthew Stafford was there. I hear people say, well, look, he's got like almost 50,000 yards passing, and now he has a Super Bowl. Well, I can make the same argument. It says, look, there are a couple of guys that have DeMarcus Ware and Jared Allen have hundreds of sacks. Richard Seymour has 57.5. It's about how you impacted the game overall, not if you were really good on your team. People say, well, like NBA reference, right? So like people are like, oh man, Christian Laettner like averaged like 17 a game. I'm like, even the sucky teams have people who average double figures. It just happens. Matthew Stafford was that guy all those years in Detroit, except for those 3 years that he was able to go to the playoffs. Well, 3 years with the winning seasons with Jim Caldwell and going to the playoffs twice out of total 3 times. Put in perspective. Calvin Johnson, Megatron, everything receiver, stopped after 9 years. If you take his numbers away from Stafford on that same Detroit team, Stafford loses 25% of his yards. Justin, he loses 25% of his passing yards just because of one guy.
That is a lot.
Who stopped after 9 years, and that was in 2016? So, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So another 5 years, whatever Matthew Stafford has obtained in those 5 years is probably close to 20,000 yards. I'm being generous when I say that Megatron is responsible for 25% of every yard that Matthew Stafford has gotten. But this guy's a Hall of Famer, right? So if you take away Megatron, really you have Tony Romo. Now watch, this is who he compares to, Matt Stafford. Tony Romo, Mark Brunell, Steve McNair, Jim Kelly, Joe Namath, Jim Everett, Alex Smith, Andy Dalton, Terry Bradshaw, Joe Theismann. Now, Justin, for your set, I know you've seen Romo play. You probably remember a little bit of Steve McNair. You probably remember Mark Brunell. I don't even remember Joe Namath, maybe in his late years. You wouldn't remember Jim Everett. You would know Alex Smith, Andy Dalton. You didn't see Terry Bradshaw. All these people I've seen play straight-up games except for Joe Namath in real time. Matthew Stafford is actually the modern Joe Theismann. Joe Theismann's not in the Hall of Fame. And I was like, that's interesting because Joe Theismann was an MVP. Matthew Stafford was not. Joe Theismann won he won a championship. Well, Matthew Stafford just did that. But see, Joe Theismann played in an era where the running game was more important than the passing game. Matt Stafford had no running backs in Detroit. You could say one of them's last name was Johnson, and you might be right just because you guessed the last name Johnson. So literally what you have is Joe Theismann, who impacted his team, wins an MVP, doesn't throw for a whole lot of yards, but wins a championship. You have Matthew Stafford, who throws for a whole lot of yards, doesn't impact his team, is a gun for hire, then wins a championship. So, ask some of your friends if you don't know, or if those who do know, ask yourself, would you put Joe Theismann in the Hall of Fame first, or Matthew Stafford in the Hall of Fame first? Here's Matthew Stafford on his Detroit years last night.
Matthew, all the years in Detroit, was there ever a point that you thought this was never going to happen? And how did you keep plowing through, thinking it might?
I love playing this game. I love playing this game for the competition, for the relationships, for the hard times, for the good times, all of it. This game can teach us so much as people. I get to go to work with people from all walks of life, come together and go for one goal. And for 12 years, that goal wasn't reached. It tore me up inside, but I knew I could keep playing and try to find a way. And the fact that we reached that goal today is so special.
Joe Theismann is Matt Stafford. Now, remember, I told you just a few minutes ago, Richard Seymour had 57.5 sacks. Junior Seau only had 56.5 sacks. Gold jackets for those two because of their impact on the game. Where, like DeMarcus Ware or Jared Allen, these guys have over 115 sacks at least apiece. DeMarcus Ware has won Super Bowl. But did they impact the game? Did they? Before I get out of here and go to trending, there is this narrative that's trying to be pushed on you that, hey, Stafford was comeback kid. His run through the playoffs was amazing. Really? It went down each week in the playoffs in his completion percentage. 76, down to 73, down to 68, and 65 last night. That's going backwards. Or what about his passer rating? I love passer ratings. 154, down to 121, down to 96, down to 89. Not bad numbers, but that's a down slope. Yards gained per attempt, 12, down to 10, down to 7.5, down to 7 last night. Interceptions, 0, 0, 1, 2 last night. That's going the wrong way. So now you see why Cooper Kupp was named the Super Bowl MVP, and you see the importance of Jim Caldwell in the Matt Stafford story. It's KJ Late Night WEEI on 93.7 in Boston and across New England. It's time to trend.
The home for Patriots fans.
Now, here's what's trending on WEEI.
Trending now on WEEI and WEEI.com. Both the Celtics and Bruins are off tonight. The Celtics will look to extend their win streak to 9 games tomorrow as they visit the James Harden-less 76ers. Quick note on the Celtics, KJ. They play the 76ers without James Harden tomorrow, like I said, and then host the 12-win Detroit Pistons on Wednesday night. So there's a serious chance the Celtics head into the All-Star break on a 10-game win streak. Something to watch there.
That's the schedule you were put in front of you, kids.
You play the schedule you're handed, right?
That's right.
The Bruins will be in New York to take on the Rangers tomorrow night. Jeremy Swayman will get the start net for the Bees, and Matt Grzelcyk is likely to play after missing Saturday's game with an upper body injury. The Bean Pot right now, it's BU versus Northeastern in the men's final, and they are tied at 0 apiece with 4:31 to go in the third period. The New England Revolution have signed 2-time U.S. Soccer Player of the Year Josie Altidore through the 2024 season. And finally, according to Albert Breer, Odell Beckham Jr. suffered a torn ACL in last night's Super Bowl.
Tough for him.
Tough blow, especially a guy that's a free agent.
And I had a prop on him to be the Super Bowl MVP. I had 2 touchdowns, 1 in each half on him. I was like, Odell's about to make me some money.
I did the 5.5 on the catches. It was looking good, and man, that was like everyone was rooting for OBJ. That one hurt.
Yeah.